What is the role of religion in our ever-changing world? From the NewsChannel 5 network, this is Issues of Faith.
Hello everyone, welcome to Issues of Faith. We're talking today about the rewarding and important ministry of ministering to those in prison. It's something that we are called to do, but often people don't do it. They either don't know how to do it or they're scared. Happy to have with us Dan Preston, a board member with Kairos Prison Ministry. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
So first thing, Kairos Prison Ministry, what is that? And where does the name come from, Kairos?
Kairos is one of two Greek words. One is chronos, which we're all familiar with. It's a watch, it's a clock, a calendar, measurement of time. Kairos is a special time. It's a special event. It's the birth of a child, marriage. The men that started this program 43 years ago chose Kairos as God's special time to meet with those that were incarcerated.
And so that's what you've been doing, and this organization has been doing for 43 years. And it's not just in Nashville.
No.
What we're talking about is what? All over?
International. We're in 9 foreign countries, 37 states. I've got the exact figures here somewhere, a little over 400 prisons in this country, 400 programs rather, where there's 3 parts to Kairos. There's inside, which is self-explanatory. It's for those that are incarcerated, men and women. There's outside, which is for the wives, sisters, mothers, female significant others of those that are incarcerated. The reason is they feel beaten down. They don't feel whole. I've heard women say that, well, the local leadership of my church that I've been in for 20 years came to me when my son went to prison and said, we think you need to find someplace else to worship.
Oh no, really?
That's what these women hear. I have one friend in another state that I met through Kairos outside, and people ask her what her husband does, and she says he works for the state. What he does, at 50 cents an hour, he works in the kitchen at the prison where he's incarcerated. So there's that stigma.
Absolutely.
And the Kairos torch is for the youthful offenders, those that are incarcerated in youth facilities. That's the newest of our 3 programs.
Is Kairos, is this ministry, does it have one denomination behind it?
No. We are interdenominational. It was started by 9 Catholic men in Florida that were doing Catholic Cursillo, which is a 3-day, what we call street weekend, free world street weekend, whatever. Very similar to the Walk to Emmaus, which all of these 3-day programs or 4th-day programs have their roots in Cursillo. Emmaus, Tres Dias, Great Banquet, many others. That's where the roots are.
And so,
but we're interdenominational. These 9 men were doing Kairos inside prison, and it wasn't working. The men didn't understand the talks. It wasn't connecting. So, at the request of the Cursillo people, they backed out and rewrote talks, rewrote the procedures, put certain things in that relate to what the residents need to hear to change their lifestyle. We're not a salvation ministry. We're not a reaping ministry. We are a lifestyle change ministry, and we try to do that by changing the lifestyle and the atmosphere inside medium and maximum security facilities.
So let's take River Bend. Do you go to River Bend?
Yes.
So you go to River Bend, and let's just take, how does that work? You go there, how long are you there? How many people go there? How many people do you meet with? How does that work? How often?
We do a weekend program. We will have tables. We'll assign them to tables in groups of 6. There will be 3 free world people at each table with each group. The way we seat, the free world person, table leader, sits with his back to the speaker. Then there are 2 residents. The assistant table leader, 2 residents, and what we call a table clergy, which may be a spiritually strong layperson, or it may be an ordained clergy, and then 2 more residents. The pattern is each resident is sitting next to a free world person. We model, as free world people, to begin with, what a family is, how it works, how we share and love each other. Because a lot of these people men and women, don't know. They were raised in very dysfunctional families. So we try to show what a Christian family is really like. Invariably, after a talk, we start the conversation for the first 2 or 3, maybe 4 talks. Get them engaged. We may have to ask pointed questions to get them engaged. They take notes. We take notes. They don't do any. We don't ask them to do anything they haven't seen us do. So we get them to take notes, and we take notes, and we discuss after the talk. And
well, let me ask: how do you identify the people? Is this volunteer?
Voluntary.
So, how many people at Riverbend are participating in this? How many inmates at Riverbend?
Currently, 24 at a time on weekends.
24 at a time. 24
at a time, because that's the largest we've been able to raise on teams. We have to have a certain number of team members for each resident that we serve.
If you had more volunteers, you could serve more people.
We could do 42, which is a maximum set aside by this manual, this book.
And the interest is there. People inside the prison want this.
Yes. Tennessee Prison for Women also has Kairos program. My wife happens to be the advisory council chair. They can only serve 18 residents at this time because they're coming up on weekend number 6. They're still trying to build community. They had 100 applications from residents wanting to attend a Kairos weekend and could only serve 18.
Wow. So the need is there.
The need is there. The interest is there. We've had 40 to 50 applications for a weekend when we could only handle 24.
And so I want to drill down more into what you do and how that works. But it sounds also like what's very important to say is that if there is a church, because you don't care about denomination, or even an individual who wants to volunteer, this is something they can do to really kind of get their hands dirty and make a difference. Is that right? Our
only criteria, it has to be a triune Christian ministry, Christian church, or triune Christian believer.
What does that mean, triune? It's the
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, or Holy Ghost, whichever term you choose to use.
So you want a Christian church?
Christian church that's triune.
Father, Son, Holy Ghost.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit. That's Methodist, Baptist, Presbyterians, Catholics, multitude.
Do you get churches that come to you with a group of people, like the men of this church have decided this is something we want to do?
No, we have to go to them and do a presentation of this is who we are, this is what we do, this is what we want to do and what we're trying to accomplish. Get them interested. It's an educational process. It's also at these presentations that we do, we educate, we recruit, and the last part is finances. We're financed internationally over 80% by small volunteers, by small dollar donors of less than $1,000 at a time.
And how does this work? So let's say I want to do this. Okay, I want to join. What is the commitment? How often am I going? I'm going every weekend for how long?
No, you go one weekend for the weekend.
For the entire weekend?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, we don't stay inside overnight. We do come out at night. We start on Thursday night. We receive the residents at about 5 o'clock. This is Riverbend time I'm speaking of.
Okay.
We receive them about 5 o'clock, and we have to be off the campus or outside the wire by 8:30. So we've got a short period of time. Then the next morning, Friday morning, we'll start at 8 or 8:30 when the residents come in. That's when we really start the weekend. Thursday night, everybody has a host, someone they're hosting. So they've got one-on-one time. This may be the first time in 10, 15, 20, 25 years. These residents have had one-on-one individual attention without it being some form of correction. Some friend. This may be the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So then as the day progresses through the talks and whatever, they begin to pick up on the talks and they begin to join in before we have to ask a question and draw them in. As they do that, we start backing out and let them take over. Invariably, one of them will say, well, what do you think? And they draw us back in. So over Friday, Saturday, half day Sunday, we become a very close-knit family. Now, we don't come back the next weekend. Well, we come back the next weekend to do what we call an instructional, which our main goal is to get these guys and girls, men and women, to form small prayer and share groups inside. So we come back and we spend all day Saturday on how do you do prayer and share, to get them to trust each other, because they don't trust anybody. So if we could get to that point, that starts changing their atmosphere in their little section of the prison, which spreads.
And so how long have you been doing this at River Bend?
River Bend, my badge is dated 2007.
Okay.
We haven't been doing full weekends except for about the last 6 years. It took us that long to convince them that what we're trying to do, and this was a previous administration, several administrations back, that what we were doing was going to be good for them, for the residents, and for the prison itself. Let me share a quick story, if I may. It goes back to Northern Ireland, roughly 10 years ago. I don't remember the details. It's been so long since I read it, but it was in our newsletter. At a prison that houses the leadership of the Protestants and the Catholics that have been warring and fighting each other for years.
Right.
They finally convinced them, the free world people convinced them to do a Kairos weekend. And they said, we want 21 Catholics and 21 Protestants in the same room at the same time? Yeah, no. Finally, they admitted they would let them do it on certain conditions of security and armed correctional officers. These guys came in Thursday night to meet with their host, talking about what they were going to do and how they were going to kill their opposite person, their opposite number.
That's not good.
By Sunday afternoon, these men were hugging each other, pledging to work together to make their lives better inside, knowing they're never going to draw a breath of air outside the wire. In this period of time, inmate on staff violence has dropped over 80%.
And that can translate here.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. But see, what we do too, we go back. If you're on a Kairos team, you make a commitment for that weekend. You make a commitment for the 34 to 36 hours of team meetings prior to. I can teach you everything you need to know about Kairos Prison Ministry and basic rules of the prison in 6 to 8 hours. But you don't become a team. You become a team by meeting together, sharing bread together, and praying together. That's what we do in those 34 to 36 hours. Then you do the weekend. Then we do the instructional. Then we come back a month later. Kairos Prison Ministry is known for two things. One, the cookie people, and I'll go into that later. The other is we're the ones that come back. There are a lot of ministries that come in, they present a program, say, hey, we've done it, you're Christians now, see you, bye, have a nice life. Mm-hmm. And you never see them again.
But you come back.
We come back. I had a chaplain tell me, he said, I'll give you 6 months and you're going to be gone. Mm-hmm. 5 years later, or 6 years later, he said, I was wrong. You keep coming back. I said, I told you.
That's great. And that's so important.
That's what's important. We come back.
All right, I want to take a break, and then I want to come back and talk about maybe some of the most memorable experiences for you. People that you have met during the years you've done this, that this has made a real impact on. So we'll take a break, we'll come back, talk about that. Be back right after this.